In this video, I'm going to tell you about the Southeastern Center for Microscopy of MacroMolecular Machines, the SECM4, at FSU. So the SECM4 is a NIH-sponsored service center for doing cryo-EM services for users in the greater Southeast. And it's located at Florida State University. FSU has a long history of supporting cryo-EM, and we got our first cryo-EM in 1995. Since then, we have added a lot of researchers who use cryo-EM in their research, and so we have a lot of expertise here on site. And in doing cryo-EM for all these years, we've learned about all the challenges that researchers have, especially in academics, in doing cryo-EM at a university. So cryo-EM is expensive on many levels. So for instance, the microscopes themselves are cost greater than $3.5 million and up to $7 or $8, $10 million. And getting the microscope isn't the only challenge. It also requires expensive environmental controls to keep it in, to keep the instrument in the right environment. Then maintaining the microscope itself is quite expensive. It can be over $200,000 per year. It requires a facility manager, a very high-level facility manager, to maintain, run, and train on the instruments, and those are usually PhD level, make over $80,000 a year. And then compounded on that is the cost of keeping the instrument up to date. So technology is constantly evolving. On our main instrument, the Titan Krios, we've upgraded it around every two years or so. And so since we got the instrument, we've probably put around $7 million in upgrades since installation. And the point is, these challenges can be insurmountable for state schools in the Southeast. So the solution for state schools is to make shared facilities. So due to the challenges I elucidated in the last slide, running a cryo-EM facility, there are vanishingly few in the Southeast. And so this is a slide that shows the distribution of Titan Krioses and across the country. And you can see there's ours, and there are not a lot here in the Southeast, where there's lots of resources on the coasts. So we have one of these, and these new instruments, they're very automated. And so one cryo-EM facility like ours can support many users, more than we even have it at our own university. So that's sort of the inspiration for hosting this center, this service center called the SECM4. So this new SECM4 enables cryo-EM access to researchers across the Southeast, including Florida State. And that is made possible by a grant from the NIH. This is called an R24. So it's a service center grant. And the advantage of that is it enables sustainable growth and enables access to new technology, and it enables access for people who don't have one of these high-end instruments at their own university. So what is the SECM4? As I mentioned, it's a service center, and so we offer a variety of services. For instance, vitrified grid screening. So in this case, if a researcher has the ability to make their own cryo-EM grids, well, you can send those grids to us, and we'll screen them to find grids that will enable structure determination. We can also do high resolution data collection. So in this case, you send us screen grids that maybe you've made on your own site, and we will collect images on them, collect data on them, thousands of images on those samples. We can also do sample preparation and screening. So in this case, you don't have to have a cryo-EM instrument on your site. You send us a sample, and we will freeze and screen the grids. And we also have some special vitrification technology, so we can try freezing grids in a number of different ways. And so this service really is one of the things that enables researchers who don't have access, who don't have a cryo-EM on site, to really get into the field of cryo-EM. And we also do training. So in this case, you would come on site and we would provide practical cryo-EM training. And so this was focused on the practical aspects. So how do you prepare samples? How do you handle samples? How do you collect good data? That's our focus. There are many other resources available for training in the theory of doing cryo-EM. So what do we have? Our equipment falls into two categories. We have equipment that enables vitrification, so preparing samples for cryo-EM. And so we have a Vitribot and a Leica GP2 and a Chameleon. These all will prepare samples that can be put in cryo-TEM. And we have some microscopes. So we have a Hitachi, which is a room temperature TEM that we use for screening negatively stained grids, and we also have a Titan Krios, and we're going to be getting a new cryo-TEM in the future. So we'll have instruments that support every step of cryo-EM specimen preparation and data acquisition. Going into detail on some of the instruments, we have a Titan Krios, and this is the centerpiece of our data acquisition and screening workflow. It is very up to date. We have it's equipped with a Gatan K3 bioquantum counting electron detector, a DE Apollo direct detector, and we also have a Volta phase plate if that's something users are interested in. The highest resolution reconstruction we've accomplished so far on our instrument is 1.66, and that's significant because you can, at that resolution, you can see holes in rings, carbon rings, and even we're beginning to resolve hydrogens that are on these carbons. We have some instrumentation that is fairly unique. So we have this DE Apollo direct detector, and so we have one of the first ones in production. And the thing that's unique about this, the Apollo, is that it does electron counting on the fly, and the significance of that is that it enables higher throughput and high resolution for doing our data collection. We also have some not frequently available specimen preparation equipment. So we have Chameleon, and so here's an image of the Chameleon, and this is a fully robotic vitrification device, and it uses a unique way with self-blotting grids to prepare samples without doing blotting, and in this case it has the ability to solve some of the problems associated with conventional plunge freezing. And so here in this particular sample, if we prepare it in the conventional way, it's aggregated and falling apart, and if we prepare it with the Chameleon, we can see very nice thin ice where the sample is not aggregated and it's nicely preserved in vitreous ice. We also have some equipment that will help with specimen preparation and optimization before freezing. So we'll have services to perform differential scanning fluorimetry, and here's the idea with this technique is that it allows users to find buffer systems and pHs and salts and whatnot that promote the highest stability of a complex. And here's some data that we recorded in my lab where this particular sample was very highly pH sensitive, and so this scanning fluorimetry looks at the stability of the sample as a function of temperature, and as this shows, there was a strong pH dependence on the sample in the buffer. So using that, we were able to find an optimal pH, and that really made a big difference for this protein. So not many universities have access to such a system, and through the SECM4 we can offer that as a service. So I've mentioned all these services. How does one get access? So the front end for gaining access to the center is our website, SECM4.org. And there's two stages to gain access. First is applying for access, and then you would put together a proposal, and then the proposal would go out for review. And then after review, it can be, if proposals are accepted, then the accepted proposals, so then the SECM4 staff will reach out to the users and then coordinate with users to schedule time and figure out what services are going to be required. Let's take a look at that website and how it works. So here's the website. The first step is to log in. If you're a new user, you will need to sign up, fill out this form, and then once you submit, you'll get access to the site. And then, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. And so now you can see I'm signed in, and now the next step is to apply. So here's what the application form looks like. It's just a few fields, and the idea is not to be overly onerous with this application. The stars are required fields. Require your email address. We prefer it if you are grant funded to give us the the IDs of your grants, the grant numbers. This is not required. Funding is not required, but we like to have it for tracking purposes. A title. I want to emphasize that this is project based, not researcher based. So what we're looking for is your project, your cryo-EM project, broadly defined. Right? It's not individual experiments. Just what is the goal of your project? Okay, so you give it a title, and then give a high level summary of the project and its significance. There are two tracks to access. So there's specimen preparation and screening, and there's data collection and processing. So if your project is at an early stage, let's say you've purified some enzyme and you want to determine its structure. You don't know the structure yet, but you've purified it. So that your track would be the specimen preparation and screening track. And alternatively, if you have you have a specimen where you've already done a little bit of preliminary cryo-EM on it, you know that it's going to go to high resolution, you would choose the data collection and processing track. But let's give the example of a specimen preparation and screening, and then the next step is to describe some preliminary data. So what we're looking for, again, we're doing the preparation and screening track. You would describe how you have purified your specimen of interest. You might say something about its biological activity, some assays that you've done. So the idea is so that we know that the sample is pure and it's well behaved. Then the final, in this box you will describe what services you're interested in using. Maybe it's you want to try out the chameleon, so you would describe why that you would want to use the chameleon. Maybe you want to do some training. You would describe what services you envision using in the center. Then in the final required field is the need. So we want to know what access you have to instrumentation currently. Do you have a cryo-EM instrument in your home university? Do you have a TEM where you could do negative staining? Do you have any cryo-EM specimen preparation equipment at all? So these are the kind of things we're looking for so that we can assess what services are best for your needs. And then any notes you have for the SECM4 staff. Most projects don't involve just one person. They have a lot of people involved, and we want to know about that. So who are some of the members who are going to be working on this project? If you have any special information about the samples, say it needs to be prepared on site, we can do that. We have the equipment where you can prepare on site, but let us know if you have those kind of considerations. And then finally, we want to see preliminary data. So again, so we're doing the specimen preparation and screening track. So a good thing to include here would be a gel, just an SES page gel, to show us that you've got a pure sample. If you have done some negative staining, this would be a good place to include images of that. The intent is not to limit access, but to manage expectations, right? So the results that we can provide are as good as the samples that we get, right? So that's what we want to see here. One final note is by becoming a member of the SECM4, by submitting your application, you agree to be a reviewer for other applications. That's how we build our our reviewer pool, is from people who have successfully applied to the SECM4 already. And so as the number of users grow, so does the number of reviewers. And then you would click apply, and then that will generate a PDF that goes to the SECM4 staff, and then we can send that out for review. After you've applied, the application will be reviewed. And so I want to show you what that looks like, what the reviewers will be doing. And so the reviewers, they're instructed to, this is some normal form stuff. They will cut and paste the title from the application with their reviewer name. And then what they're going to do, the main part, is they're going to rank the significance of the application in 1 to 3. Is it highly significant, to moderate, or low significance? What is the likelihood of success for the project that is described given the preliminary data, right? So high, moderate, low. And the next, they're ranking the services requested. Again, this is expectation management. Are the services that the application is requesting appropriate for the proposed services that the application is requesting? And finally, need. Does the application demonstrate appropriate need for the services they're requesting? And the final bit is there's a box provided to provide feedback to the applicant if there's something that the reviewer thinks could be improved. And then they'll submit that. And then, so we'll send this out to three reviewers, average the results, and either accept or reject the proposal. The intent is, again, not to we want to accept as many proposals as possible, as long as there's sufficient time in the center, and the expectations of the center are consistent with what we can provide. I also wanted to show some of the features of the website. If we go to the About, you'll see we have a general description of the center, but also a lot of different posts that describe various aspects of the center. So we have a post that describes how to sign up, like the same things I'm going over in this video. We have a reviewer guide. So this is the instructions to the reviewers on how they should rank the applications. And then some descriptions of the services we can provide, some protocols, so how users will gain access to their data. We use the About page here as sort of a clearinghouse for how users will interact with the facility. So it's really, really useful here. There's also going to be an example application that will be put up in here so that you can, in the About page, so that you can see an example of what we're looking for in an application. So after the application is submitted, it's gone through review and it's been accepted, then the staff will reach out to you when your application is accepted. And the next steps are to coordinate with the SECM4 staff to determine the needs of the project in more detail and to schedule time. This is the email address that you can reach out to, secm4info@gmail.com, if you have any questions, and we look forward to your applications.